What is good, Cardano fam? Ada gang. We have lots of exciting updates to unpack today, and Charles Hoskinson also responded to the trolling, the FUD, the false information that got a community note. So hit that subscribe, hit that like. Cardano ADA surpasses 96.3 million transactions with zero downtime. Cardano does not lock ADA when staking or participating in governance. Liquid staking that you can unlock at any time. There's no vesting period, but of course, it's too hard to Google ABC123, right? The lies and misinformation about Cardano have reached epic levels. Stake isn't locked, but they still lie. Why does anyone trust these people anymore? Now, for context, if you didn't watch yesterday's clip, these guys got a community note, in particular Marty Party, the self-proclaimed crypto macro analyst. And let's play this just for reference.
What happens to all the old stuff with no adoption? What happens to the ADAs and the XRPs? How come they still have huge market caps?
Locked in. They can't sell. They're locked into staking. They can't unstake. There was their trick early on, especially Cardano. They locked in people at a rate where they can't exit until a certain date, which I think starts in October for Cardano. So we should see some Cardano action in October, and then next year it starts to unravel. So whether people sell Cardano when they can, we don't know. But Cardano, I think, is one that we should watch, could potentially.
Just a classic L, and the silence speaks volumes, and the community has been going crazy. Of course, this got community note. Let's take a look at some of the responses, which are hilarious. Hosky. Solana marketing, Solana reality. If you guys want even more of a laugh, I mean, there's hilarious replies. And Charles here was saying, could have spoken up. You knew they were lying, man. With this reply to Invest Answers, saying that Invest Answers is such a good, reliable dude. He is for sure not spreading the FUD on ADA at least. Well, and I said silence speaks volumes, and he responded to Charles saying, I apologize, but I lack experience with ADA staking, and I'm not familiar with the associated unlock periods or other related processes. So, well, we appreciate that, you know. At the end of the day, people make mistakes. Humans are error-prone, chaotic, unpredictable. It's the human nature. And, you know, I said, you're right. It's too hard to Google. And while you're at it, throw XRP under the bus too, right? Even though Ripple is fighting for all of DeFi. And their CEO, Brad Garlinghouse, Stuart Alderoty, everyone, they're fighting for DeFi. We can all win. And the interesting irony is, like how I said yesterday, is that Ripple's CEO was anticipating on video, guys, this year, Cardano ETFs, XRP ETFs, Solana ETFs. So these same people who are spreading false information, who can't even do a basic Google of like, hey, Cardano ADA is not locked when you stake it, fail to realize that they also FUD the projects that are also helping them. This is the classic ignorance, guys. So be very careful with information. Be very careful. Stick to the nonsense, guys. Stick to the nonsense, this Marty Party Waluigi. But, you know, at the end of the day, thank you, Invest Answers, for the apology. And I hope that these guys, these Solana guys, at least can take this serious of like, please, like, do some basic research. Just very basic research. On to good news. Tomorrow's About Stuff episode mint is with Hosky. Oh, and 500 billion Hosky will be divided and given to those lucky enough to mint numbers 0 to 20. So they just tweeted this. So tomorrow is going to be an important time. Apparently there's a grand reveal of Hosky, and goes into the lore and the history. So I really like this. I really like the tokenization media element of it. I think what Stuff.io is doing is getting more and more exciting. At first I was a little resistant, but when I saw that interview with Charles and now this, I think it has a very interesting product market fit. Let me know if you guys are excited for this interview. Super exciting news, guys. Rosen Bridge. We're in the final stages of integrating Ethereum and MetaMask into Rosen, bridging Ethereum with Bitcoin, Ergo, and Cardano. This marks a significant milestone. Having support now for EVM and UTXO-based chains paves the way for future bridges. I love this, highly anticipated, and it's going to be great to see EVM integration. Super exciting. Speaking of bridges, WanChain. Which is the oldest blockchain bridge? Why does it matter, you're asking? Well, because the longer you're in the game, the more proven you are. People say old narrative, old narrative. Well, Amazon's an old narrative. Nvidia's an old narrative. AMD is an old narrative. Heck, the wheel is an old narrative. And when it comes to blockchain, network effect, trust, these are important because not every bridge is the same. Introducing the top 7 veterans blockchain bridge list. And of course, I think Rosen is doing some great stuff, but Wanchain is basically one of the most OG in the game, launching in 2018. 2018, guys, in July of next year. That's going to mark like 7 years. So fantastic, and it's great to have an OG bridge continuing to add more ways to bridge liquidity and stuff with stables and whatnot. Very exciting. Thank you, Wanchain. King David, our largest Ascent Rivals playtest so far. Guys, Ascent Rivals is fantastic. I still have it installed. Definitely looking forward to just doing some more time trials. I think using a controller is the best. And it's so fantastic to see a bustling community. The Discord has such a good vibe, bustling chat. And we can see here 60 people in the audience watching some playtest action. And it's a fun game. That's the most important thing that people forgot about in Web3. Like Angry Joe said, is it fun to play or a boring chore? In his old Fable 3 review. What's the point of crypto if it's not even fun? And so I really like the way that they're moving, because Ascent Rivals was featured on Steam. You can download and install it on Steam right now. And they were at PAX West, arguably one of the largest game conferences in the United States. And so I think the way they're going about it is smart. Make a fun game, make it unique, inspired by like Star Wars Pod Racer, Knights of the Old Republic, swoop racing, elements of like F-Zero, and I think that it's very fun. And at its core, as long as it's a fun game and you hide the technology behind obscurity, that's the secret sauce. So very nice to see a strong community behind this game. Cardano cycle in 5 steps. A great tweet by Dan. Cardano done. Fun while it lasted. Tech does nothing. Just a bull trap. Told you should have listened. Here we go again, another bull trap. All-time highs shattered. Same story, different cycle. And he says we're at step 3. So very nice to see all these like tech does nothing, fake bounce, exactly what I was saying, it's over. I think we're reaching, guys. And notice Dan, who's always staring at charts like on the daily. Social analytics, Google Trends, low Bitcoin global search results, all are alluding to what we've been saying time and time again. We focus on trajectory, narrative, social analytics. So while bozos don't even know like, it's a lock, the trick, Jack Skellington trick, we can focus on data, trends, trajectories. And it's pretty safe to say that I think alt season is coming around the colder season. When exactly, we don't know, but I think it's around the corner because you need that absolute FUD. You need that absolute like, Cardano's done, this is done, that is done. And I think we're slowly reaching those levels. I really like how Dan broke it into steps, Same story, different cycle. I agree. Let's talk about Ouroboros Leos. Great tweets by Cardano Yoda. The implementation of Ouroboros Leos and Peros will enhance throughput and accelerate settlement times. With Leos, in the words of Charles Hoskinson, a dramatic increase in L1 performance. Accelerate settle times for the Nakamoto consensus. This will enable Cardano to handle hundreds to thousands of transactions with a finality time of just 2 minutes, all while preserving the network's robustness and decentralization. Let me describe the inefficiency of the first generation Nakamoto consensus. A blockchain is a linear data structure where each new block builds on the previous one. The first generation follows this linear sequential approach. Currently, both Cardano and Bitcoin operate similarly. The Nakamoto consensus is inefficient as it doesn't fully utilize available computing resources and bandwidth. Network activity peaks when a new block is created and propagated, requiring all nodes to validate it through the same computation. During the intervals between block production, resources remain underutilized. In the image, red slots represent periods of increased activity, while white slots indicate unused resources. While waiting for another block, these resources are primarily used for pre-validating transactions that are added to the mempool. So taking a look at this image here. Interesting. Users wait for the first confirmation, users wait for next confirmations, transactions wait in the mempool. And I remember mempool was being mentioned a lot And I think that we're going to see a massive spike in usage when we move forward with improvements in scalability, performance, throughput. Transactions are not instantly finalized when adding to a new block. Even a newly appended block does not guarantee finality. Blockchain forks can occur, leading to two competing chains. One of them becomes part of the blockchain history, and the second one is discarded. True finality is achieved only after subsequent blocks are added. Users gauge this finality by the number of confirmations, blocks added after a block with their transactions. Consequently, Nakamoto consensus has a relatively long settlement time. Ouroboros Peras will enable a sufficient number of nodes and their respective stakes to agree on the ledger's state through voting. This will significantly reduce transaction finality time and lower the risk of large rollbacks after just a few blocks. A randomly selected committee of stake pool operators will vote for the block at a fixed depth from their current best chain tip within a given period, increasing the weight of blocks that a majority of SPOs agree upon. This method, known as stake-based voting, allows a greater number of nodes to approve blocks, including previous ones, more quickly. The chain selection process will be based on the chain's weight rather than its length, meaning nodes will consider votes and certificates instead of the number of blocks. The heaviest chain will prevail over the longer one. Votes will be broadcasted to all nodes across the network. If a node observes a quorum of votes for the same block, it can issue a certificate that increases the block's weight. Certificates will also be disseminated across the network on demand to nodes that lack equivalent votes. If the block producer has a new certificate available, it will insert it into the block, propagating the certificate throughout the network. Yellow blocks represent blocks that nodes vote on. Blue blocks contain certificates. Interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how the throughput kind of translates to the retail user in terms of scalability and performance. This is quite mind-boggling. I'm not a developer, and it's hard for me to wrap my head around it, but it's exciting to see from the macro aspect improvements to scalability and throughput. Users will have absolute certainty about transaction finality within 2 minutes compared to the current 12 hours, 2160 blocks. Ouroboros Leos is designed to achieve near optimal throughput, handling an exceptionally high volume of transactions and pushing the network's capacity to its limits within existing constraints. Every blockchain network has a maximum number of transactions it can process, known as capacity. This is the system's peak ability to manage workload or perform tasks under ideal conditions, influenced by factors like network bandwidth, available computational power, and system design. The network's actual capacity is often significantly lower than its theoretically usable capacity in terms of resources. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, usually you're going to have that theoretical maximum, but the actual maximum. Throughput is the actual number of transactions processed in a given time frame. It measures real-world performance, indicating how many transactions are confirmed and recorded on the blockchain, often expressed as TPS, or transactions per second. While capacity represents theoretical potential, throughput reflects practical achievement. The first generation of Nakamoto consensus doesn't effectively utilize available resources, but Ouroboros Leos addresses this by introducing 3 types of blocks: input blocks, endorsement blocks, and ranking blocks. I like this. As a UX designer, it's kind of like, to me, I see it as like chunking it, compartmentalizing it, different elements to allow a faster streamline, if you will. So this kind of makes sense to me, splitting it up. I like this graphic a lot. Good stuff. Makes sense. Endorsement blocks can reference multiple input blocks, nodes validate blocks, and vote on their readiness for inclusion in the blockchain through ranking blocks. The voting result is a certificate that the blocks carry with them. These certificates are verified when inserted into the blockchain. Stake-based voting, similar to Ouroboros Peras, can be used for voting on endorsement blocks. Multiple input blocks can be minted within a single second and are subsequently referenced by endorsement blocks. Parallelization is essential for enhancing transaction processing efficiency. Said the word that I was thinking. Parallel. Parallel is very key. You can have the same amount, but it's like, how do you utilize that? Right? NVIDIA was making efforts where the same, just as a reference, as an analogy, NVIDIA was making efforts to improve compression with memory and taking the same amount, but, I think parallelization and efficiency in how you handle certain tasks benefit the throughput overall. How can we squeeze every bit out of that lemon is important. By decoupling input and endorsement blocks from ranking blocks, the processing can leverage parallelization, avoiding the limitations of blockchains sequentially. Input and endorsement blocks are processed in parallel, utilizing available network resources, while ranking blocks are processed sequentially to maintain the blockchain's linearity. So I think even these words parallel are key, because from music production side, right, you have parallel processing, you have serial processing, one after the other. But parallel can allow you to be a little bit more dynamic. You compartmentalize, you do different things simultaneously rather than one after the other. There's a lot of exciting terms being thrown here by Cardano Yoda. Ouroboros Laos will enable nodes to continuously process multiple tasks. Tasks that support parallel processing across nodes are marked green and yellow, and these pertain to input blocks and endorsement blocks. This includes the minting and validation of input blocks along with the transactions they contain, which may involve script execution. It also covers the minting and validation of endorsement blocks, stake-based voting on these blocks, and the creation of certificates. Tasks marked in white require sequential processing and are related to ranking blocks. Good stuff. Hey, I will definitely say yes to parallel processing. Do I fully understand this? No. And I'm not going to tell you that I fully understand this, but I get excited when I hear an increase in throughput, parallel processing, chunking things, if you will, with multiple blocks. Why not? Good stuff. Especially this, node work on multiple tasks in parallel. I like that. With the implementation of Ouroboros Laos and Paris, Cardano will be utilizing the second generation of the Nakamoto consensus. So it is a little bit tough for us to wrap our whole head around. I think this is a fantastic read, but I think that, this key opener here, that the implementation of Ouroboros Laos and Paris will enhance throughput and accelerate settlement times. We can all say yes to that, right? Definitely. And a final statement by Cardano Yoda, I think he's a fantastic D-Rep, also sees the need for Circle USDC, Tether USDT. If there was only one D-Rep I could point to that aligns with Angu Crypto's views and also calling out the 3 UTX no, I would say Cardano Yoda. So don't hesitate, guys. The larger the active voting stake, the more confidence we will have in Cardano's governance and decentralization. So far, about 4,000 holders have delegated ADA. I can definitely recommend Cardano Yoda, Hosky's also good, many others, Crypto Crow, Chris O, Big Pay. There's a lot of good ones, but I would say that Cardano Yoda is top in my list. So another nice poll. This will end in 14 hours, so we'll check back on it tomorrow. Who is your favorite crypto founder? I'm kind of biased, right? I'm Team Blue, so I'm kind of biased, and I have respect for everyone, but, definitely going to vote Charles. I think that there's going to be a lot of trolls that are going to be trying to ride on the Cardano wave. It is what it is. It's all fun and games at the end of the day. Does it mean anything? Not really, but we'll take that win and we'll see. We'll check back on this poll. So there was a little bit of a nice pump since yesterday, a little bit of a nice rise, and we still stay true to what we said. We've been saying for months now, guys, that post-halving it's going to be kind of bearish. It has been. So we're not going to bore you guys with all of that nonsense we keep saying over and over and over, because we keep repeating the same thing. I think that we're looking at market cap right now. I think that we will easily surpass $3. I think $5 to $7 is a conservative price prediction. And I think that we can definitely go higher. When rallies happen, they happen fast. And I think that $5 to $7 definitely possible. The reason why today and yesterday I've been defending Ripple also is because, Brad Garlinghouse is calling for what? A Cardano ETF. Fighting for DeFi. XRP is not a security. 94% reduction in penalty. Even himself said how important Tether was, even though they introduced RLUSD, their own enterprise-grade fiat-backed stablecoin. So at the end of the day, guys, I want to remind you, be very careful of self-proclaimed crypto macro analysts. I don't call myself a macro analyst. I'm just one guy, trust but verify. These guys got to stick to their, rug pulls and all that jazz, because they're putting the same people under the bus that are calling for ETFs for projects that they support. So at the end of the day, what's exciting me the most, I would say Ouroboros, Laos, and whatnot. And that's pretty much the most exciting thing for me. There's a lot of tension and excitement right now in Japan and Asia. So really exciting to see a lot of presence in Asia for Cardano. What's exciting you right now? Is there something that I haven't discussed in the Cardano ecosystem that we need to bring more eyes to? Let me know if there's a project, a blue chip, a Cardano native token. Let me know. What's your price prediction for Cardano in the bull run peaks? I think we'll easily surpass $5-7. We'll easily surpass the previous all-time high. And we're coming up on 8 years in the top 20 in CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko. So we've checked off pretty much everything, but cycles are the cycles. It's not that narratives control price. They're the garnish. It's key. But cycles are cycles, and we're heading into the cold months. So hit that subscribe, hit that like, let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you guys in the next Angry Crypto Show.